Time now for our Proceed halftime update. If you need seed, think Proceed. With me today, the owner of Proceed, Keith Pelletier. Keith, great to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you got a great corn program going on right now. I'll touch on that in a minute. But first, let's talk about sort of ethanol and its impact and energy for our company.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of dispel one of the myths of ethanol. Oh, several years ago, there was a guy named Pimenthal, who was actually a paleontologist, which is an insect studier, did a study and said that there was a negative impact on, in other words, it took more energy to create a unit of ethanol, and the guy was way off base. I mean, he didn't account for the yields that we've been having with our traded technology, and he didn't account for the feed value of DDGs. So actually, it only takes 1 unit of energy to produce 2.3 units of energy of ethanol. So it's a way positive thing. So I mean, that's out there. We want to dispel that myth.
Thank you. The big thing I'd like to see is just more choice for people at the pump. It's so limited. North Dakota is very good, but you go across the country, it's very, very limited.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your corn program. People need some corn.
Yeah, so corn program, we've got a couple programs that we think are good, called the Right Choice program. So if you plant 3 of our varieties, 150 of corn or 80 of corn, 3 different varieties, you get a choice of DeWalt tools. We had a DeWalt tool program like 2 years ago that was hugely successful. So by popular demand, we're back with that. And then if you plant 24 more corn units than you did last year, then you can get a grease gun. So we've got 3 different programs out there for guys on corn, and we're having fun with it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being part of this program.
All right.
We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Stay with us again. If you need seed, think Proceed. Much more coming up here on the Proceed Halftime Report.
Welcome back to the Proceed Halftime Report. Our score at halftime: Youngstown State leading North Dakota State 14-3. Let's get you to the first half highlights. I mean, really, what can you say about this one? We start off with North Dakota State trying to win their 3rd consecutive game on the road. And it doesn't start out the way that they hoped for. Ricky Davis, a touchdown run here from 13 yards out, caps off a 6-play, 72-yard drive to give Youngstown a 7-0 lead.
Untouched. I mean, nobody even gets a finger on the guy. Great play call.
Not a bad job there, as you can see here. It's been the quarterback run that's we thought that North Dakota State kind of had this shirt up. This is a little bit of a different look to it, just a straight quarterback run, but it seems to still be the Achilles heel for the Bison. Later in the first quarter, 4th and 6 for the Bison. Easton Stick will roll out, trying to gain the yardage needed here for the Bison just outside of field goal range. Stick would fumble here, but it doesn't matter. It's a turnover on downs for the Bison, and the Bison offense really struggling, especially after they get closer to the end zone. Here was a very good positive play in the second quarter. Easton Stick finds a wide open Zach Brown. No need to jump over a defender this time. He's wide open. It leads to this 30-yard field goal for Cam Peterson.
How do you leave Zach Brown that wide open? Finally, we get some points on the board. Thank goodness for that. We're obviously going to need him going into the second half.
Makes the score 7-3 until Jody Webb, a 45-yard touchdown run on the jet sweep. Oh, if we could go back to that, I thought we had it. It was a 10-play, 86-yard drive. 14-3 is the score at halftime. Our first half stats are brought to you by the North Dakota Certified Seed Producers, and it's really just all Youngstown State in this one. It's if we could bring up that stats report, there it is. 14-3, the rushing yards, really. North Dakota State, they have been putting a beating on people on the ground the last couple of weeks. Just 42 rushing yards for the Bison at halftime.
I don't know how you explain it. 18 rushes for 42 yards. They're 2 of 6 on 3rd down, Alex. That is just not typical Bison football. Obviously, YSU is doing a decent job up front with their defensive guys, but I really want to see the Rams come out, and we talk about this so often at halftime, have a very physical second half.
Youngstown State up over 200 yards, total yards for the half. The one positive I guess we could take from this, Easton Stick is connecting with his receivers. Granted, that 70-yard pass play in there, but he's 5 of 7 for 109 yards through the air. Hunter Wells for Youngstown State, 8 of 12 for 93 yards. Ricky Davis, 0 for 2 passing today. We didn't really think we would see him pass that much. We saw him run the touchdown in the 13-yard touchdown run to give Youngstown State the 7-0 lead. Don't go away. When we come back, we're going to go around the Valley and let you know how other Valley teams are doing here on the Proceed Halftime Report. (14-3), the Penguins leading the Bison at halftime in Youngstown, Ohio. Welcome back to our Fargo studios for the Proceed Halftime Report. We're going to go around the valley. All of the Missouri Valley Football Conference teams in action against each other this week. Let's get you those scores right now. Western Illinois trailing Indiana State at last check, 27-17. That game in the third quarter at Indiana State. Both of those teams likely have been eliminated from the playoff contention. Still playing, though, for pride. Down in South Dakota and Vermilion, South Dakota State has taken a 10-7 lead after South Dakota jumped out to a 7-0 lead in that game. South Dakota State sitting at 7-2 overall, 4-2 in Missouri Valley play. South Dakota still looking for that fourth win in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. They sit at 3-3 in conference play. Illinois State and Southern Illinois in Carbondale. That score is tied at 0 in the first quarter at last check. Illinois State coming off their first loss of the year last week. Southern Illinois 2-4 with some heartbreaking losses for them this year. Northern Iowa on top of winless in the Valley, one win, Missouri State overall. 7-0 that game in the first quarter just underway. Again, our score, Youngstown State leads North Dakota State 14-3. When we come back, Beth Hool talks with former Bison Kyle Emanuel on the Proceed Halftime Report. Don't go anywhere.
Joined by a familiar face to Bison fans, Kyle Emanuel, back in town traveling with everyone. What's it mean to be able to come check out a Bison game?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been fun. I kind of get to see the other side of things, you know, not being a player, just being a fan and a spectator. And, you know, you just miss the Bison family, miss being around these people. So I'm glad I was able to make it back, and, you know, excited to see what happens here in the second half.
Playing for San Diego now, what do you think's been the biggest adjustment when it comes to making that leap to the NFL game?
I mean, there's been a lot. There's been a lot of things that are different. It truly is your job now. You kind of think it is in college, but it really isn't. You know, the speed of the play, the competition was all something as well. But it's just everything. It's you know, you're truly on your own now too. You know, it's different. You know, living on your own, trying to adjust to an NFL lifestyle, to find a place to live. You know, it's just everything. There's a lot that goes into it. You gotta deal with the off-field stuff and the on-field stuff. So it's been a little bit of a transition, but you know, it gets easier day by day.
You're out in San Diego now. How much is just the change of lifestyle? A Nebraska kid playing up in Fargo, North Dakota. Now you're in San Diego, California. I mean, what's been the biggest adjustment just in living situation?
I mean, I think for me, it's been the traffic. Believe it or not, I've never had to deal with traffic. Obviously, Fargo doesn't have a big traffic problem, and I was right there on campus. You know, my little town of 6,000 people didn't have any people, but yeah, that's been something I had to deal with. But otherwise, you know, it's not too hard to adjust to, you know, sunny and 75 every day and beaches. So I think I can adjust to that pretty easily. But yeah, San Diego's a beautiful place.
You played at NDSU. You went through a lot here at NDSU, and you were extremely successful at NDSU. How did that help prepare you think, for the next level, maybe more than anybody else thought it might? Yeah,
I think just being around this program and how we worked and how we prepared and things like that, you know, it was more than just the wins and how successful we were. It's just, you know, the kind of people that you're around and you know, being around like people like Jim Kramer and Coach Kleiman, and they teach you to be a good person, but also they teach you how to work and they teach you how to become a football player. And you know, everything that I learned here, you know, has prepared me for what I'm doing now.
And from here on out, you've still got a long season left. NFL goes a lot longer than college. What's the challenge from here for yourself? How are you pushing yourself here?
Well, I mean, for me, it's been trying to stay healthy. You know, unfortunately, I've had a little bit of, you know, some injuries this year, and you know, we're not exactly where we are right now. You know, we're 2-7, but you know, like you said, it's a long season, and so you know, when we get back to San Diego, just try to get healthy and you know, try to finish out the season the best way that we can.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. You know, Bison fans everywhere have been excited to see you up there, that's for sure. That's it for now, guys, for your Proceed Halftime Report. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Beth. Good to see Kyle Emanuel. I bet you they wish they could have him suit up for the Bison here in the second half as the Bison trail 14-3. Really easy to say what the Bison need to do in the second half, Chris. Play better.
Yeah, I just want to see Coach Kleiman and Coach Riley get in front of the Rams and say, guys, we got to go take it to these guys. Let's go stick them in the mouth and let's make something happen here to control the football and put some points on the board. We saw how explosive we were last week. We're going to see that again this weekend.
All right, that'll do it for your Proceed Halftime Report. Let's get you back out to Youngstown, Ohio. Brian Shaw and Lee Timmerman for the second half.